Hey, happy Saturday, everyone. Hopefully, we're having a wonderful start to the weekend out there. We got a good bit to discuss here in the weather forecast. Again, still in a relative lull, but there are some things on the horizon and even some current things that we are watching that could potentially bring impacts. One thing I will start with here is the tropics have kind of upticked a little bit overnight, at least in the near term. Now, still not expecting any U.S. impacts by any means, but we did actually get Nadine to form there in the Western Caribbean out of that system, and that is really technically making landfall right now through Central America. Again, only real threat with that is the same threat it originally was, which is a lot of rain. But again, not a United States problem. But if you are in Belize and down into the Yucatan Peninsula, that definitely could be a concern. And then we are also watching another area north of Hispaniola that has come back up in kind of chance of development here. But again, no direct impacts really expected with that one as well. Now, other than that, we do still have our storm system out west that we are monitoring that is bringing severe weather and mountain snow, but we are kind of shifting a little bit towards the potential of another storm system about a week or so from now that could impact the Northeast and bring another shot of cold air for those of us east of the Mississippi. And that one has also uptrended in intensity overnight. So we'll talk about that as well in today's video. Now, if you haven't already subscribed, please do so. Like the video, leave a comment, consider sharing with somebody you think might find it interesting. Also, just want to say thank you. Hurricane season, we had some pretty incredible growth. And again, not that hurricane season is done by any means, but we could be done with United States landfalling systems. I think that's at least a potential. Either way, just want to thank everyone. We went from, I think, about 8,000 subscribers to more than 11,000 over this hurricane season. So definitely a success. And very excited to see what the winter season holds, which historically speaking is generally my best season on YouTube in the short 2 years I've been doing this. Alrighty, let's go ahead and dive on into things and start talking about what we are seeing out there. So we're going to start with the tropics here and give you an update. This is now Tropical Storm Nadine, and actually a pretty healthy looking system, all things considered. The good news for everybody, though, is it is running out of time to really do anything. It's really already making landfall here into Central America as a tropical storm with winds around 45 to 50 miles an hour. So, enough to definitely be breezy, but luckily not a hurricane or a major hurricane by any means. We do have another area behind that to watch here north of Hispaniola. This one has come up with a chance of development as well, up to, I believe, a 50% chance of development, which is considerably higher than the 10% it was this time yesterday when we made a video. But the good news for that one, again, not really expecting any direct impacts. In fact, actually, it's going to kind of do a little bit of a loop here, likely, and then hook itself on back out to sea. So we'll take a look at all that. But that's a current look at the tropics. Now, timing this out for you a little bit. Again, just to kind of very briefly show this to you. By this afternoon, again, Nadine already working into Central America, and by this time tomorrow morning, well into Mexico, and just a remnant low with some rain falling there through the southern half of the country. At the same time, again, our disturbance out here into the Atlantic, not fully forming here on the GFS model, but definitely bringing some rain in and around Hispaniola and portions of eastern Cuba. But you'll notice in the long run, what kind of happens is it redevelops and pulls north here, and we actually have a bit of a storm system by this time next week. But that would not be tropical. That would be post-tropical or extratropical probably is a better word. And you can kind of see these fronts that are moving out from it due to the way that troughing is kind of around the storm system. So definitely not tropical at that point, but very much so a mid-latitude storm system. But again, just kind of something interesting that we will watch. All right, again, no United States impacts out of either of these, but I will briefly show this to you in case you happen to be, vacationing or maybe even watching from Belize or the Yucatan Peninsula and all the way back down into portions of southern Mexico. Again, a lot of rain on the way. Isolated spots could get more than a foot of rain or potentially 200 to 300 millimeters of rainfall, which would be more than enough to cause problems in these regions. So just figured I'd very briefly show this to you in case you cared. All right, and then final thing I'll show you with the tropics. Again, I'm going to kind of breeze on through this, but formation over the next 10 days, we do see that, again, some members try to develop that low pressure here off the coast of the United States. Closest that we could see impacts for that would be Bermuda, but even then, that's probably a long shot at this point. And then obviously Nadine already making landfall. So still not a whole lot to really worry about. Again, our area here into the kind of near the Bahamas going to move towards southwest Cuba and then hook it north right around the island there. And again, not expecting to get very strong, even if it does manage to take that O name, which I believe is Oscar. I think I checked and I think it's Oscar. Might be something else, but either way, no United States impacts. Now, I will briefly mention to start November, again, it's not impossible to get storms in November. I think now through at least October 28th, we'll say, will probably be pretty clear from activity, but that first week or two of November, there will be a small window where we will have a favorable MJO phase, or just an area of rising air or divergence aloft that moves over the Western Caribbean. That combined with still warm ocean temperatures, maybe something tries to get going at that point. I think if we see any other United States impacts from the tropics this year, it would be in that time frame. Kind of the very end of October and first week or two of November. But again, long shot right now, and there is a very real possibility that that doesn't happen and we don't see any impacts at all. But I just figured I would mention that to you, so you have something to kind of keep on the back burner. All right, let's talk about what's happening here over the lower 48 here currently, and what's going to happen here into the near term. All right, so again, currently on satellite imagery, not a whole lot happening. Here's our storm system down into the Four Corners region. That's really the big storyline, if you will. But over the east, I mean, we've just got this big old area of high pressure here that has really anchored itself in. And because of that, we're not really seeing a whole lot of anything going on east of the Mississippi. Now, around this high pressure, we are seeing some cloud cover kind of rotating around it. That is bringing a couple of showers up through the Midwest, specifically the state of Minnesota into Nebraska, South Dakota. We do also have another kind of storm system bringing some cloud covers into the cloud cover into the Rockies. I've switched my S on the wrong word there, but bringing cloud cover into the Rockies, the northern Rockies specifically. But again, not really expecting a big time storm out of that either. So things remain relatively calm currently, but again, that doesn't mean it's completely calm, as we do have that area to watch down into New Mexico and really just the Four Corners in general. All right, in the east today, no real watches, warnings, and advisories worth note. Again, a couple frost advisories, but not anything that we aren't really used to. Up into the Midwest, again, like I mentioned, some rain kind of moving along the edge of that high pressure. So a couple showers possible today through Minneapolis up into northern Wisconsin, maybe even the extreme upper portions of the UP of Michigan. And then down back into Nebraska, South Dakota, seeing some of that rain. But the real troublemaker, again, is down here near New Mexico and Colorado, even impacting Arizona and Utah, where you'll notice a whole lot of precipitation is falling. Now, a lot of this is falling as snow in the higher terrains, but in the lower terrains, this is just good old-fashioned rainfall. And because of that, we do have a flood watch and already a flash flood warning here through portions of eastern New Mexico, and this will include the threat of severe weather this afternoon. So from Roswell kind of northbound here up through many of these communities kind of into just really the eastern half of the state could see some severe weather this afternoon, as well as heavy rainfall that could lead to flash floods. Again, getting a flash flood in a desert is probably a lot easier than getting a flash flood in kind of a temperate climate, which is ironic as it is. It's just the way it works, because the soil can't really, get all of that moisture to soak it up very quickly, just because of kind of the types of soil that they have down here. But yeah, definitely need to watch for that this afternoon. Again, still winter storm warnings up for the higher terrains in this region due to all that snow that's falling. And yeah, that's really what's going on right now. Again, Pacific Northwest, another kind of front moving through here, bringing some widespread mountain snow and lower elevation rainfall, especially into portions of British Columbia here. The kind of higher terrains here near Vancouver are going to pick up a ton of snow over the next couple of days. So if you happen to be watching from this area, definitely let me know. But definitely a lot of snow in your forecast. All right, so let's go ahead and talk about the near term for the East Coast, and then we'll go back out west, and then we'll take a look at the long range a little bit more. So I'm going to breeze on through this, okay? This is this afternoon in the east. Again, the only rain you're seeing is along the edge of this high pressure. So here's the high pressure. Here's this giant dome of high pressure. I'll go ahead and draw it. And you'll notice along the edges, a couple areas of some rain, one to the north, again through Minnesota and surrounding areas. Another to the south here through potentially the state of Florida, seeing some showers try to work on through, maybe even a couple rumbles of thunder this afternoon. But everywhere in between, I mean, it is about as dry can be. And this is into tomorrow morning, again, staying dry into tomorrow afternoon and evening. Again, another beautiful, dry kind of fall-like day. and then that even continues into overnight Sunday, and that's when our storm system out of the west kind of finally pulls it east and gets into areas east of the Rockies a little bit more heavily. But even then, at that point, everyone east of the Mississippi, still all good and clear. All right, temperatures. Well, let's see here. We'll get this into this afternoon. Again, very similar to the past couple of days, maybe a degree or two higher. So, if you were 65 yesterday, maybe 68 today. But all things considered, again, really just beautiful weather here for this time of year. You will notice, again, a bit of a temperature gradient here up into the northern plains. That's helping to create some stronger winds and some lift. That is bringing some of those showers to that region. But again, all things considered, beautiful day today. And by the time we get into tomorrow morning, again, another chilly one, lows down into the 30s and 40s for most of us, lows into the 60s down through the state of Florida and through the Gulf Coast. But again, another fall-like morning tomorrow, and then tomorrow afternoon for Sunday high temperatures, a tad bit warmer than today. So again, just kind of increasing that general afternoon temperature trend, and then staying cool in the evenings. All right, well, let's talk about the severe weather threat just a little bit here. We do have a marginal risk not only today, but also tomorrow, really through the exact same areas here into eastern New Mexico, and even kind of portions of extreme west Texas here, seeing the chance of a couple strong storms. But again, the good news here is most of these are relatively lightly populated areas. I saw a couple videos yesterday of some tornadoes here in this part of New Mexico, just ripping up some desert fields, which obviously, don't want anyone to get hurt. So that's a good thing that didn't really impact anybody. But if you do live out here, you do still need to be on your guard because it only takes one storm. And these storms today will have the potential to produce all hazards from tornadoes, large hail, and strong straight line winds. All right, so let's go ahead and time this out a little bit. This gets us into, let me back it up just a little bit. So this afternoon, early this afternoon out west, probably about noon mountain time, again, you'll notice that lower elevation rain that could be heavy at times and that higher elevation snow that could also be heavy at times continues, but it's really this evening that the severe weather threat kicks up here. So you'll notice, again, kind of some of these more individualized cells forming here into eastern New Mexico, really starting in southeastern New Mexico, moving northbound. Again, all hazards on the table. I would very much expect a tornado or two this afternoon. Also, at the same time, again, that front up into, or kind of that boundary, really, I should say, up into the Pacific Northwest, continuing to bring that rain into portions of Washington state. And this all continues overnight tonight. Very heavy rainfall into eastern New Mexico. I think that flooding threat will really ramp up during the overnight hours and probably linger into tomorrow morning, but should begin to die down a little bit. And by the time we get into tomorrow afternoon, just a couple scattered showers left, including, again, a couple that could become strong to severe here into eastern New Mexico. But really today is probably going to be the climax of this storm. And then we get into our overnight, and you'll notice, again, this finally tries to begin to kick its way on out of here. And at the same time, another front moving through the Pacific Northwest, bringing an increase in some shower activity up for you folks that way, overnight Sunday into Monday. All right, time this out a little bit more. This is Monday morning. Again, there's that kind of trough. You'll notice here it is. That is finally scooping up the storm system and pulling it out of here. But kind of what happens is a new trough is going to take over to the north, and we're going to get a new low pressure to form further up into Canada. And that's going to kind of choke off this low pressure's ability to strengthen. So we'll move this further ahead into time. You'll notice a little bit of rain definitely possible here Monday afternoon through portions of Kansas, Nebraska, and Oklahoma, but it dies down pretty quickly. And by the time we get to the middle of next week, things are pretty clear once again out west. All right, let's go ahead and talk about what's on the horizon for the week ahead. And again, I am watching the potential of a storm system to kind of try to get its act together a little bit. So let's time this out for you. All right, this is Monday afternoon and into Tuesday. This is kind of where we left off. Again, here's our storm system that's kind of getting trapped in this ridge and kind of losing some of that upper level support, kind of becomes stacked with the low pressure at the surface and the lower pressure above it, just meaning it's losing that divergence overhead and it's losing those atmospheric ingredients to continue to strengthen. Now, what happens later in the week, and actually, let me pause it here for a second. At the same time, you'll note a big-time ridge flexing its muscles over the east. This will really begin to warm things up. So I kind of talked about that gradual increase in temperatures over the weekend. That continues into early next week. But then we could kind of hit the switch and do a 180 later on next week. all because of this area of blue that's beginning to show up. So here we go. This is Tuesday into Wednesday. You'll notice another trough showing up on our map here. Pretty far north, though, up into Canada, starting very positively tilted, just meaning it's in the early stages of its life cycle. It is likely still strengthening at this point, and that is exactly what happens. So we get that to form, low pressure tries to form, and as that happens, this dives southward, and by next Thursday becomes a little bit more neutrally tilted, still positive in nature, but becomes a little bit more neutral, meaning, again, a strengthening system. And then this becomes very neutrally tilted, dives much further south over the northeast than kind of the models were showing, and then becomes negatively tilted as it moves off the coast of the northeast. With this very big block of cold air that really hits everyone here from Ohio all the way down to the Carolinas, all the way up the eastern seaboard, getting in on that much cooler air around next Thursday. So again, only about 5 or so days from now, and then scoots on out of here. So definitely a model run, and it's not just that model. Some of the other models as well are hinting that this could be a bit of a stronger trough than maybe we thought a little while ago, and could once again bring a big shot of cold air and potentially a storm system that could produce some impactful weather. And we'll talk about that now. All right, so the GFS model, again, we'll kind of move it ahead into time to we'll pick this up at Wednesday morning. I think Wednesday morning is a good time. So here we go. Here's that big trough. Kind of notice this 540 line or this blue line, everything above it, all of these kind of kinking down isobars, or I guess these are thickness values, but either way, you get the point, kind of kinking down, indicating that that cold air is trying to move southward. And that's exactly what it does. Now, we do get some divergence here on the diverging side of this trough, and we get some showers and storms or probably really just showers, not so much storms, to kind of form here. And we even have low pressure here on that diverging side. Again, we get kind of this front moving down with this trough. And that fires up some showers here Wednesday into portions of the UP of Michigan, into Michigan itself. And eventually what happens is we almost get a new area of low pressure to form. So I know it's at the very top of your screen. Here's the original low, but watch what happens down here further south into this upper level trough. We get another low pressure to form, a new front to form. We get another cold front here that is pretty far southward, really funneling this cold air south with it, kind of a reinforcing shot of cold air advection, if you will. And what happens is, as this trough becomes much more neutrally tilted and negatively tilted, is that low pressure really begins to strengthen, but it's kind of off your screen at this point, and it's well into Canada. But on the backside, you will note we got some mountain snow falling here into the interior northeast. We've got some coastal rain, and again, this big high pressure on the backside that really funnels in a lot more cool air for those of us east of the Mississippi. So definitely something that will need to be watched, and I'll go ahead and tell you now. I'll go back one more map. Generally speaking, with this sort of setup here, don't focus so much at this point out where the low pressure forms. Just know that we do have a trough digging south that would be conducive for some sort of storm development along the diverging side of it. So somewhere in here, we could see a low pressure kind of form and strengthen, and if that happens, I will be watching for the chance of some snow into the northeast, especially the higher terrains next week. And you'll even see that showing up a little bit on our models here. Again, the GFS and its ensembles, not showing a big chance, but showing a chance of some accumulating snowfall. And this could come in one or two ways. The first way, we don't really get a big time storm to form, and we just kind of get some back end precipitation that is thrown into that cold air into these higher elevations, and we get some snow. That is one possibility. Another possibility is we do get a storm to kind of form here a little bit stronger along that trough, and we get more precipitation thrown back into this, and it could be more of a winter storm compared to just a good old-fashioned high elevation snowfall. So we'll watch it. I will continue to keep you updated, but we are trending towards a colder and maybe snowier picture next week than originally thought a couple days ago. So definitely some good news for you winter weather lovers. All right, temperature-wise, again, going into the beginning of this coming week, we warm up pretty significantly. This is Monday afternoon, just about all of us at or above average in the temperature department, well above average up into the Midwest. But watch what happens. Here comes that trough. Here comes that blue. Here's that cold front. Again, not hard to find. Here it is with blue on one side and well above average temperatures on the other. This is Wednesday afternoon. Again, the entire country above average, except for where this cold front and this trough begins to work into. And then watch that ooze south. This is Thursday afternoon, and then this is Friday afternoon. and Friday morning specifically here, you'll notice a lot more people getting in on below average temperatures east of the Mississippi as that trough digs further south than originally thought. And hangs around through next weekend before again warming up through the following week. So definitely something to keep in mind there. Another thing is we could really use the rain. So if we're lucky, this storm system will kind of get its act together a little bit more, throw in a little bit more precipitation into the map. But right now, not a whole lot of rain in sight over the next 10 days, but that could change, especially up into this region. Again, should that trough produce a bit of a stronger storm system. And again, we already have this kind of bear clinic zone here, so I would not be surprised to see maybe something trying to form there. We will watch for it. So that's the latest here for you on your Saturday. Hopefully you found some use in it. Again, if you haven't already subscribed, please do so. Like the video and comment. Let me know where you're watching from. All right, folks, have a wonderful rest of your Saturday. Enjoy it. Stay safe out there, and I'll see you all tomorrow.